Welcome, fellow horror hounds, and welcome to the latest episode of Talk and Stalk, your unholy home for horror. I'm your host, as always, Barry, and for today's podcast, I'm really just going to be talking about my estimations, box office-wise, for Halloween Kills and the fifth Scream movie, simply titled Scream. Now, Halloween 2018 actually became the highest-grossing slasher movie of all time, actually overtaking Scream, released at the end of 1996. I think Halloween 2018 actually made, I think, just over $255 million, on a, what I believe was a $15 million or so budget. So needless to say, it was hugely profitable. Now, Blumhouse generally have a great track record of, they tend to put out a lot of films on modest budgets that actually go on to make a lot of profit, and Halloween 2018 followed that suit. I'll admit it actually made more money than I expected it to, and I'll be honest, I liked it. I liked Halloween 2018. I certainly had some issues with it, as I've mentioned on previous podcasts. The injection of humor and that, and it was far from perfect, but at the same time, I actually felt like it was the best Halloween movie in a long time. Now, the question is, Halloween Kills, is this going to be able to outgross Halloween 2018? Now, Halloween Kills, I think, again, is going to make a lot of money. There's certainly a lot of buzz around this film. There's a lot of, for horror fans and Halloween fans, especially, really looking forward to this movie. Now, the thing is, Halloween 2018, there was a lot kind of riding on it because, it was a movie that was actually set 40 years after the original, completely disregarding all the sequels, omitting the sequels, aside from obviously quite a few kind of callbacks and sly little references for the Halloween fans out there. But this was a continuation, 40 years after the original movie. And, having Jamie Lee Curtis back on board, was certainly in itself a pretty big selling point. And, it had us Halloween fans very excited. Now, I know that there's a lot of Halloween fans that really liked Halloween 2018, but I also know a lot of people that really wasn't keen on it. Now, I think it was quite divisive. Now, critically wise, this film, its reviews were generally very good. There was a lot of people that did take to Halloween 2018 quite well. It certainly did very well box office wise and critically wise. It did pretty well. And it was just good to see Halloween 2018, Halloween actually being kind of pushed into the horror mainstream again. Because as I've said before, the Halloween franchise has had a very rocky road. Okay, we've had vastly inferior sequels over the years. I absolutely love the original Halloween. I really like Halloween 2 from 81. Halloween H20, I enjoyed it. It was certainly in the mold of a Scream film. If not for the success of Scream, we probably wouldn't have had Halloween H20. But it was just good to see a Halloween movie back in the kind of forefront. And I'm really glad it did well. Halloween Kills. Now, this is the thing. I don't think Halloween Kills is going to outgross Halloween 2018. Sorry. I actually think that this is going to do really well, box office wise. Now, I know there were some people, as I said, some people that really didn't like Halloween 2018. So if they didn't like that, I don't know if they're going to return to see the next film. Or maybe the trailer has actually sold them. Maybe the trailer obviously was released, I think, just 2 or 3 days ago. I thought it was a great trailer. It certainly has me very excited. At the same time, though, I do feel like the trailer showed a lot. And, that is a common criticism. That is a criticism of me, actually, that too many trailers nowadays show too much. I don't want to go into the cinema and feel like I've seen 2/3 of the movie already. I really don't. I want to be surprised. But from what we can tell, this film looks like it's going to be really hardcore. It certainly looks to have a pretty high body count if the trailer is anything to go by. So I actually think this film's going to do really well. Okay, this film is going to make a lot of profit. I'm not quite sure what the budget is, but at the same time, to topple $255 million, which is a lot of money, certainly for a horror movie, Now, I know there's other horror films that have made way more than that. The likes of It in 2017 made $700 million, making it the highest grossing horror movie of all time. That's excluding, of course, inflation, and 1975 Jaws, if classified as a horror movie, I believe would probably be the highest grossing horror film of all time. But yeah, I think this film's going to do really well, box office wise. But I don't actually think it's going to surpass $255 million. You know, at the end of the day, it's just educated guesswork. You know, it's all just pure speculation. It's basically impossible to predict exactly how much money a film is going to make. But I would expect this film to make somewhere around 200 million, if not a little more. I would say the ballpark for me personally, I would say probably 200 to 230. I don't actually think this film's going to be a million miles off what 2018's Halloween did. I think Halloween 2018, though, one of the big selling points was it was certainly, you know, a continuation for the Halloween fans out there, disregarding a lot of these inferior sequels. I think most Halloween fans would agree that a lot of the sequels were inferior to the original movie, whatever. But at the same time, bringing new people on board. I mean, I actually know some people, naming no names, who've seen Halloween 2018, but they've not watched the original, which, I don't know. I think some people went into it actually thinking the film was a remake, actually. I think the title was quite misleading. I think some people probably just assumed it was a remake, whatever. But it's going to do well. I mean, I'm really excited for it. There's going to be a lot of people going to see this film, but I'm not quite sure it's going to make as much money. But I don't think it's going to be too far off, in all honesty. Now, in regards to Scream, now, again, this is almost impossible to predict. Scream 4 in 2011, you know, it's going to be, what, 12 years? Is that, no, sorry, 11 years, sorry. 11 years almost between Scream 4 and Scream 5. Now, Scream 4, I actually thought was an improvement on the third movie. Scream 3 to me is probably the weakest of the franchise. I still enjoy it for what it is. You know, it's a fun slasher flick and whatever, but I felt like the franchise was trying to become a little bit too meta for its own good, whatever. But the fourth one came out, but the fourth film is the only one to not make $100 million at the box office. The first three Scream, now Scream 4 did okay box office wise. You know, it made profit, it made money. I don't think it made as much money as they'd have liked, because it's the only film in the franchise, like I say, to have not made $100 million. I think it made around $79 million on, I think the budget was around 40 mil. That's obviously excluding any marketing costs. That was purely the production budget. Now, I'm excited for this film, and I know a lot of Scream fans are. Now, I also know that there's a lot of people I've spoken to, Scream fans, that rate the fourth one as the weakest. And I'll be honest, I expected the fourth Scream film to actually make a little more money than what it did. And the reason being is there was an 11-year gap. You know, there was a lot of anticipation. At one point, we never even knew if there was going to be a fourth Scream film, but we got it. Now, it can go one of two ways. There's a long wait for something. So, you know, people's anticipation is built up, etc. You know, it's been a long time. You know, they're really excited to see Scream again on the big screen. The problem is, if somebody waits too long, sometimes the anticipation can dwindle and your excitement just tends to wane away. And I think that probably happened with the fourth movie. As I said, I actually thought it was a minor improvement on the third. Now, with this movie, the franchise has obviously very much been in limbo. You know, no Wes Craven, new studio at the helm, whatever. I think there's going to be a lot of people that are cautiously optimistic for this film. I think this film's going to do well. I'd like it to do well. I'm not expecting a movie that's going to come anywhere close to the 96 original. Certainly not. This isn't going to be able to replicate what the first or even the second film did, I don't think. But at the same time, as long as we get a solid slasher flick, you know, one that's going to appease the fans. As I've said before, I'd like some risks to be taken, but at the same time, I feel they may be a little bit cautious and a little bit apprehensive about pulling off some of these moves. But I think this film's going to do well. But at the same time, I don't think this film is it's certainly not going to break any records or anything like that. I don't think this film is actually going to get anywhere near close to Halloween 2018. I think, I mean, I don't actually know what the budget is for this movie, in all honesty. Um, but, just if I was to throw a random number out there with regards to this film, I think this film could probably make 150 to 170, $180 million. I'd like to be surprised. I could be completely wrong. This film might not even make 100 million, which, even if it makes 80 or $90 million, I'm sure that's still going to be profit, but probably just not as much profit as they'd have liked. I'm excited for the film. I know most Scream fans are. But yeah, I mean, I'm hoping, obviously, if this film proves to do well, box office wise, commercially wise, whatever, then I think obviously there's every chance of another Scream movie. Certainly. I know Kevin Williamson wrote the screenplays for a Scream 4, 5, and 6. Obviously, he's not writing. I don't believe them scripts are actually being used or anything now. So yeah, I'm expecting Scream to do well, but I'd like to see it. If this film can get anywhere close to Scream 2, or at least be slightly better than Scream 4, I'd be really happy. I'd be pretty ecstatic, in all honesty. I'm not expecting this to be as good as Scream or Scream 2, but I'm just happy we're getting another Scream movie. And yeah, so box office wise, I think Halloween Kills is going to do really well. I don't think it's going to make as much money as Halloween 2018, but it's not going to be far off. And with Scream, it's a really tough one to say. We've not had a trailer or anything. I'm not really getting that much buzz around the film at the moment. We should be getting the trailer, I'd imagine, probably within the next month or so, couple of months at the latest. So yeah, that's all I really wanted to talk about today. And just something else I like to guess. The sad little movie geek in me always likes to guess movie lengths. I'm expecting Halloween Kills to be probably around about an hour and 45 minutes. I think it will be roughly around the same length as Halloween 2018, which I thought was pretty much a perfect length for that film. It could even be shorter. I mean, if the movie moves along at a frenetic pace, which the trailer would actually indicate that, but at the end of the day, we can't judge it too much. It's just, it's a trailer. It's all been edited together. It could be 95 minutes or whatever, but I would expect probably 1 hour 40, 1 hour 45 for Halloween Kills. In regards to Scream, impossible to say. Scream 2 being the longest at 2 hours long. Scream 4 wasn't actually too far off 2 hours. Well, technically speaking, the fourth Scream film's the longest. If you actually watch the director's cut, the unrated edition, which is actually available on YouTube, which actually incorporates all of the deleted scenes, it's over 2 hours. And I would implore anyone that's a Scream fan to watch that version of the film, because it's a lot better. And honestly, I wish that version had been released theatrically. I really wish that version had been released officially on Blu-ray. So yeah, I would actually say probably the fifth Scream film's probably going to be around about, at a guess, 1 hour 50, around that. It'll be somewhere between 1 hour 45 to 2 hours, I'm sure. So yeah, that's all I pretty much wanted to talk about today. So thanks a lot to everyone that watched, and I'll be back again soon to haunt you and torment you. Take care.